Hi guys, if you missed the winter, you got a little bit of it on Saturday. It was pretty nice and cold, just to remind us what we are missing. Anyway, I hope it will get warm soon. But for now, here we go. Today's lesson, completing a square. And today we are going to continue working with quadratics, but we are going to step away for a little bit from graphing. Today we are actually going to learn just a skill of how to complete the square, so that tomorrow and in general this week we can use this method, or we can use this part to solve quadratic equations. So today you strictly want to follow the steps, and the steps are as follows. So to complete the square for any quadratic equations of the form of x squared plus bx, you will follow the steps below. First of all, you are going to find 1/2 of b. So what I will ask you for is, I will ask you to list b, and then we are going to multiply it by 1/2. And I will show you this in a second. Then the next thing is, whatever you will get in here, we'll put it in parentheses and we'll carefully square it. And then the last thing is, you are going to take the result of this and you are going to add to x squared plus bx. Now, we are talking about completing the square to write the perfect square trinomials. I hope you remember what the perfect square trinomials are. If you don't, I will give you an example. And here's my example of a perfect square trinomial. That is that funny thing where you were able to have a quadratic expression, in this case x squared plus 6x plus 9, where you were able to take a square root of x squared, take a square root of this number, the free number without a variable, which is 3, and then remember how we would always check by taking 3 times x times 2, and if you get it a middle term, that means that this is a perfect square trinomial. The sign that is before the middle term, you are going to copy. Sometimes this is going to be positive sign, sometimes this is going to be negative sign, and now you can square it. Now, what does this mean? This means that it could be written as x plus 3, x plus 3. And if this was a function, and if you were to graph a function like this, so let's say I am now making this completely up, I am saying that this is y is equal to, if I wanted to graph this, notice that would be a parabola with the 0 at -3, that happens twice, and this graph would nicely bounce. So this is the perfect square trinomial. This is how it looks like graphically. But again, today we are going to just try to figure out how to make a perfect square trinomial. We will follow the steps strictly, and please make sure you do not try to invent anything. Please do not use the photomath for this, because this is going to give you some very weird results. Please just try to follow my steps. So I want you to see what the example 1 is asking us. Find the value of c. So we are looking for a number so that if we add this to x squared minus 12x, this is going to create a perfect square trinomial. And then we want to write the perfect square trinomial and express it in a factored form. All right, so let's take a look. The first step says to find 1/2 of b. Well, I did tell you list the b, so b is -12, and then find half of that number. So half of -12 is going to be -6. Now, the next step is telling us to square the result from step 1. I always tell you, make sure you put this number in parentheses. If you have a negative number, you are going to be squaring this. So this is always going to be a positive number. So we are going to get positive 36. Think about this for a second. If you have negative 6 times negative 6, that is going to give you positive 36. And what we are going to do with this 36 is we are going to add this to x squared minus 12x. So now I have x squared minus 12x plus 36. And now what I need to do is, so what I did is I have this written as a perfect square trinomial, but now I want to write this in a factored form. So think about taking a square root of x squared, that is going to give me x. Think about taking a square root of 36, that is going to give me 6. Now I always check my work. If I multiply 6 times x, that's 6x, and remember that 2 is a number that you need to multiply it by, so that is going to give you 12x. Well, that's correct. Make sure you copy the number that is in front of the middle term, put it in parentheses, and square it. And we are done. That's it. That's all you will have to do, and you will have to do the same thing for all of the examples. Let's do a few more together, and then you are going to do some practice for me. So step 1. We want to make sure we list what b is. And for this one, b is negative 8. And then the first step tells us find 1/2 of that number, in our case negative 8, and we know that that is equivalent to negative 4. Step 2, take whatever number we got, so in our case this is negative 4, and square it. If we take negative 4 and multiply it by negative 4, we are going to get positive 16. And then step 3 says, add this number to whatever we started with. So in this case, we are working with r squared minus 8r, added a 16. Now we need to make sure we write this as in a factored form. So if I want to write this in a factored form, square root of r squared is r, square root of 16 is 4, sign in between is negative, make sure you put it in parentheses, make sure you square it, and also make sure you check your answer. If I multiply 4 times r, that's 4r, times 2, that is going to give me 8r, and that is what I needed to have. So again, you will see this method is going to be used to solve the quadratic equation. Soon we call it completing the square, and let's do some more examples together. So I have example 3. And I want to find the value of c that will make this to be a perfect square trinomial, and then I want to write this perfect square trinomial and express it in factored form. Again, step number 1, I want to list the b. b is 4, and then I want to find half of that 4, and that is equivalent to 2. Step number 2, think about this. Do you remember step number 2? Take whatever number we did get and square it. I am not writing it in parentheses because it is a positive number. And then step number 3, add that number to whatever we had started with. And then write this in a factored form. So square root of x squared is x, square root of 4 is 2, plus in between, because again I take this sign. Make sure you write this as a square, and also make sure you check your answer. So 2 times x is 2x, times 2 is 4x. We did not make any mistakes. All right, one more example. You may want to pause this video for a second and maybe try to do this by yourself and just quickly check your answer. b is equivalent to 14, and I am going to find half of 14, and that is equivalent to 7. Next step, I'm going to take whatever number I got and I am going to square it. Again, it's a positive number. I didn't write it in parentheses. Step number 3, add this number to whatever we had started with. So x squared plus 14x plus 49. That is the first part of the answer. And then the second part of the answer is we want to express this in a factored form. Square root of x squared is x, square root of 49 is 7, plus sign in between, and square it. Let's double check. 7 times x is 7x, times 2 is 14. Done and done. Again, if you have any questions or if you want to complete the assignment with me, make sure you come to see me during my office hours. And then you can, you can get help and you can make sure everything you are doing is correct. Otherwise, have a great day.